I do remember finding my own voice as a teenager and being quite excited by the fact that I could start channeling it in one way. I realised round about the age of 14, 15 that I was a soprano, rather than that I had a higher voice rather than a lower voice. I didn't quite understand it, I didn't quite know how to use it, but I realised that I could hit the high notes better than I could the low, and that I really enjoyed them, and I could change the colour of them, and I could kind of, I was singing along to soundtracks like West Side Story and some of the older Rodgers and Hammersteins that are very soprano, and I was just enjoying them so much, and that's when I realised that that was the type of voice that I had. I did have a dream role, but I played it. My dream role was Christine Daaé. So it's quite difficult to find a new dream after you've already achieved yours, but especially so young. I was 24 when I went into the Phantom of the Opera, and I was in it for such a long time because I just couldn't get enough of it. I loved it so much. I also, when I was younger, always wanted to play Maria in West Side Story, which I also played. So I've been very fortunate. As a child, I grew up listening to those musicals, and they're the ones that I went straight into. And now, as I'm getting older, I'm learning to appreciate other styles, different composers, and different characters that are slightly older. So maybe I'll find myself a new dream and go after that one. I have to say, when I met Michael Ball, I was starstruck. He is such a legend. And again, I grew up listening to Les Mis and Miss Saigon and all of those kind of musicals, and so I knew his voice, so recognisable. Aspects of Love is one of my favourite musicals ever. And his voice has such a recognisable tone to it as well. And when I was in Phantom of the Opera a few years ago, Michael asked me to go off on tour with him and do some concert dates. So I got to meet him and I got to sing with him, and we became friends. And he is such a great guy. He's so much fun. He is phenomenally talented. He's got such a great voice. It just never seems to tire. And I was starstruck when I met him because I just couldn't believe that I was actually getting to work with him, and that he was so friendly and so normal. You know, he's a really great guy. I think my biggest fan have to be my family. It goes without saying. My mum and my dad have always been very supportive of my decision to go into the theatre. My other sisters they were all very studious, and they've all gone on to do very well in their own careers, but I was the only one that took music to the next level and chose to do it as a career. They were very supportive and have always been there 100% beside me, behind me. They've seen everything I've done. So I think that my parents would have to be my biggest fans. I think my mother is one of the strongest influences I've ever had in my life, because she taught me about music, she taught me about musical theatre, she would take me backstage when she was conducting different shows, and I would sit with her in the pit when I would be 3 or 4 or 5, you know, I was really little, and I would sit next to her in the box and listen to the orchestra playing, and she would be in control of that, and she would organise that, and I remember even from that age being completely starstruck by it, and I always admired the ability that she had in keeping calm and bringing together what seemed to me the most amazing thing in the whole world. So I think that she's definitely influenced me very heavily in my life. To someone that has never seen this show before, I would say come. It's an amazing piece, it has a strong story, the score is undoubtedly one of Andrew's best, the orchestrations are beautiful, everything about it is it's a fantastic piece all put together so well, and if there is any show in the West End that you want to go and see and spend your money on, make it Love Never Dies.